This podcast is rated PG. Parental guidance suggested. Some material may not be suitable for children.
John looks ready to be scared. He's bundled up in his blanket there.
It's a cold night. I'm totally afraid.
He's got glasses on to protect himself from getting slimed in the face.
Yeah, that's right. You never know what's going to happen.
That's the only reason you wear those.
Even when the badass psychic medium says this house is clean, it's not clean. It's not over.
It's not over yet.
I don't know why they brought her back for the sequel. She obviously doesn't know what she's doing.
Honestly, I could have stopped the movie right then.
I agree with you.
I was like,
come on, shut
I'm
up.
like, this movie's not going on, is it? Oh, wow.
All right, so we watched Poltergeist. We want to talk about this. We watched Poltergeist, 1982 movie, directed by, Tobe Hooper. We can talk about if Steven Spielberg actually directed this movie or not in the trivia section. But yeah, this movie's old classic horror movie. And what the fuck, guys? You wanted to shut it off?
It was a funny watch.
No.
It was it just could have ended right
do you
then.
want to go first here? Do you want somebody to go first? Who should go first?
TC needs to go first.
Okay, go TC.
I thought it was I had a good time, man. I really did.
Yep.
I really liked the use of lightning. I mean, it was just it was so over the top, and it was funny. What I liked about we saw another dog actor.
Oh yeah,
right? I mean, like, that dog was good. He walked right around. He didn't run around the corner.
He was a good one. He had to like grab the potato chip bag and dump the bag on the floor.
He had to look at the wall and bark. I mean, he did a lot of good stuff. I thought it was an easy watch, fun. I mean, it's Halloween. It was just, it's so stupid. It's funny. The football stuff was hilarious. I loved when he walked right through the door with all the beer and it's spraying all over the place and they're screaming and yelling. I was laughing. Yeah, I was laughing. I'm like, this is so ridiculous. But yeah, I thought that, it was a good time. I'm glad I watched it. I did, it just brought me back to those older days. It really was a different kind of.
You've seen it before, right? I mean,
I definitely remembered it. So I must have seen it and not realized it, like as a kid. I'm sure that it was probably on something, or my dad was watching, or my mom was. Who knows? But somebody watched it because I remember a bunch of scenes. I was like, I remember this. Right. So, but I didn't remember much of the story. So, I didn't. I just sat and watched it and had a good time. I didn't really dislike much, except for the fact that it could have ended right there. I was expecting it to. It just seemed like it should. But then they went on and on and on, and I get it. And then
it took a different tone at that point, it seemed.
The bodies! You just got rid of the gravestone!
Naomi was fine throughout the movie until the second ending happened, where they're all just in the house, and it apparently was super tense. And she's like, I don't like this. She finally started...
It freaked her out?
Yeah. So, if you're going to get scared, then it could scare you more.
I guess I didn't really see it as scary, but whatever.
Yeah. This was, it was kind of more of like a comedy, right? I mean, I don't know, but
not quite Evil Dead.
I remember being younger. I thought this was pretty scary. I
mean, the fucking guts coming out of the bread, or that shit would have scared me as a kid.
Decomposing face.
Ripping his face off.
I don't think I'd ever watched a movie with gore like that before.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, it was creepy. I'm not going to lie. I didn't like the bread thing at all.
The steak?
Yeah, the meat.
Oh, it was whenever the meat was coming out of the bread?
Yeah, the maggots and all that.
It's gross. Yeah, some of the CG was not awful, but some of it was. It was like, I understand why it was. It was so new. And
there's no CG.
Whatever they were doing, they were little effects, right?
Yeah.
So they were like, with the lights, and they must have been fading other shit in. I don't know. You must have something on that, right?
I do. Some pretty cool stuff they do to get it to...
So not CG, but they're little effects. I guess that's what I'm more
It doesn't look real, but it does look kind of cool.
Yeah,
that's
right,
fair enough.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, when stuff drops out of the sky and they did it pretty decently, you're like, hey, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I believed it. I had a good time. I don't really have much else to say. It's about it.
You got more to say, John, or is that about where you're sitting too?
No, I mean, the film does a lot of really cool stuff. Like, it does this suburban family stuff really well. Before any of the horror starts, just how, just these little things like the bird dies and the mom tries to hide it from the kid and she's about to dump it in the toilet and the kid sees it. Then they have to have a funeral. And it's just all that whole sequence is great. And then immediately the bird's in the ground and she's like, can I have a puppy? Or can I have a goldfish? And then she's immediately getting the goldfish. How like this family like cares about their kids, but they also like, just doing sort of modern.
They kind of like have their own little life at night where they get stoned
all the time.
Yeah,
like, hey, that's bad for your eyes, and just leaving the TV on for the kids or whatever. They care about their kids obviously, but they're also like not hyper vigilant about anything. Yeah, they're getting stoned. They're like just
Don't you love that? All movies are just like parents have to be uptight. They always go to bed super early. They don't have fun with each other anymore. You know?
Right.
But
they're like having a good time. They're having like a good fun.
Sloppy. Like it wasn't perfect or it wasn't trying.
I mean, I laughed when he was like before, after, before, after,
right.
before, after. I was like, that's funny.
Yeah. It seemed very sort of like humor. Natural. Yeah, exactly. And the war with the neighbors and all of that stuff.
I mean, that's like classic suburbia.
Yeah,
right?
I loved it. I loved how they set it all up like that.
Where they're angry with each other, but not really, right? Like
they're weird. It's awkward. It's almost like they're trying to go to the neighbor for help, but they're embarrassed and they don't know what to say. It's just the way they capture the sort of everyday life, I thought was really brilliantly done. I really loved it. And all the acting is great for what it is. And it just seems so very mainstream in a way, in a good way. It's like, just like, this is like a good, like family movie up to this point, up to where the horror starts. And that's why I think I imagine a lot of people saw that might not normally have seen horror films. And like, I know I did. And when I was little, and I wasn't, I don't know, it just seemed like it was very mainstream to see it. It wasn't like, it wasn't the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So that was.
Is it because they had little kids in it? Maybe part of it.
Yeah, well, yeah, and they normalize everything. Everything feels so normal. I think that's why that it does sort of feel like the tone changes a bit after like the house is declared clean. And Zelda, she's awesome. I love her. And as many people, she made her whole career out of this. Like she was like a lab technician somewhere and got this role. And then that made her, she did other things after that too. But this was just like an incredible like breakout performance because she was so awesome. I loved watching her and the way she spoke and acted. I thought, I like this idea of like this small person, badass, old lady spirit fighter. I just think that whole combo is pretty unique, and I liked how much like she was like, oh yeah, we're gonna get him. I know what I'm doing here. I just like that. I thought that was really, really cool. And it was sad that she's gone and and she's like, she declares it's clean and we don't see her anymore. Right. So I think that's that to me is like the highlight of the film. That's why it feels, other than the clown scene, which was pretty terrifying, but fuck it. If you have a clown why would you ever have a clown like that? Why keep?
I was going to ask that question
ever?
too.
No.
Why on earth would they give that kid the clown?
Why would the kid keep the clown? Why would that clown not go right to the garbage? Give it to the dog. Yeah. What? I mean,
and another thing, who made that clown?
Right,
because that's fucking weird.
I don't think the clown is that scary. It's just the way they shoot it with the sound and like the lightning storm and stuff.
I don't know. It's the look on its face.
It's a clown. Yeah. That's what clowns look like.
But it's not. It's an angry. You can tell that clown is not happy.
It's the
clown.
Editing and the music and the lightning storms. It's just irregular.
The way
and it's the fact that the kids are scared.
Right.
And it brings you back to being scared. Like, oh, the fuck clown. Right?
The clown is sitting at the foot of his bed staring at him. That's fucked up, too.
That's fucked up.
They should have had him piled in a corner with a bunch of other toys. It would have been fine.
But I like the quick cuts that they do. Like, even when they had the chairs stack out of nowhere, I thought that was fantastic. It's like really startling when that
wasn't
sort of
a quick
happened.
cut, though. You said quick cut.
No, but it just like she turns and it's there. It just happens in a very sudden way, but it's not like dun dun dun. It's more like
what, like the tree coming through the window?
When the chairs got all stacked on it. Well, that was
no. I know what you're talking about. It's where the camera. It's like one of the best practical effects in the movie, where it's a bunch of people, probably like a pit team, F1 pit team or something, run in, remove all the chairs, and they have a pre-glued chair structure, and they put it on the table and then run out of frame. It takes them 7 seconds to do all that shit as the camera pans back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah. Nice.
That's some crazy
the
shit.
suddenness of it, and then her reaction is perfect. Like it all works so well that when she goes, he goes and you.
I mean, I went
it's
like that. Like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's just some stacked chairs.
I didn't think about how they did it though. It's a good point.
I didn't even think about that, but it's really beautifully done. But yeah, other than the clown scene, I do feel like, again, when I was a kid, I thought it was all great. And I thought that the big climax was great. The whole house imploding, I thought was really cool back then. But this time I thought more like, I was like, I feel like this is different now. This is more like schlocky horror, scantily clad woman running around screaming for like 20 minutes.
That must have been an interesting conversation in the production trailer. Being like, how about we're going to go pantsless for the last 20 minutes? You're going to be crawling around in the mud. We're going to get multiple butt shots of you.
Well, yeah.
How do you feel about that? Good? All right, we're doing it.
Feels great.
Yeah. You're hot, right? You got
that. Yeah, you got nice legs. It'll be good for your career.
Yeah,
Come on.
She does have nice legs.
Yeah, great legs.
It's fine. It's fine. But again, the tone seemed different there. That seemed more like a B movie horror kind of thing to do. But it's still, there's still iconic moments. You didn't move the bodies. That was like just.
Yeah.
Although, why is he sitting there arguing with the guy? He should be trying to save his family. He shouldn't have the guy deserves to be yelled at, but, come on.
Yell at him later. Come on.
Yeah, come on, man. You got other things you should do. Yeah, I think it was really a good film. And I don't know if this is like part of the Spielberg touch where he does these movies and he just gives a normal sense of life around the extraordinary things happening, like with Close Encounters or E.T. or when he was in his prime, in his heyday. And he had these sort of like almost family friendly movies, but then something really extraordinary is also happening.
Right.
So, and that seemed, Jaws is like that. I mean, I know it's the shark and everything, but it's also about the daily lives and the bonding of the guys on the boat and these different things that happen that make these characters seem very likable and normal. Yeah. It just really feels like there's a lot of that just happens, and then you're sucked, and then you're bought into the film. You're like, I like these characters, I like these people, I like what's going on, and then whatever else happens is kind of you're along for the ride there too. And so that's actually, and I don't know if it's necessarily a Spielberg thing, but certainly it seems like that seems to be a pretty during that time that seemed to be a quality of his films. So, but yeah.
For sure.
So, and the effects were great. I mean, they're fun. They weren't,
awesome.
Not necessarily realistic, but the animated effects, the flying objects effects, they don't look terrible.
No, they didn't. They still, they just, sometimes they didn't, they were clearly not, part of the
house.
Shot. Yeah. Right. Or like right.
Like when the things are coming down the stairs.
This is just something someone or like the little thing when he's standing in the room, right? And you're like, it doesn't look like much. Yeah.
But it's not bad.
But the music with it is like synced up. And it looks cool.
The music, the acting, the reactions of the cast, the way they work really well.
Yeah, they got all the other stuff right. So they're like that little bit could kind of like you just get past it, right? Because you're not really that hung up on it. But
I feel like they must have, and there's no trivia on this, but I feel like the Carol Ann character is so indifferent to what's happening. They must have wrote that into the scripts because it must have just been how she was. I know during her audition, she was like laughing a lot. And that was so they almost didn't cast her, and they almost cast Drew Barrymore in this part.
No shit, really? Huh?
Interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
But she wasn't quote angelic looking enough.
Well, they loved, like Spielberg says, and I got some book corner, but it's just sort of this funny Hollywood moment because he saw Carol Ann, the actor, in the commissary, and he goes over and he says, "Who is the mother or agent of this little girl?"
One of the two, probably both.
Not because she's lost, but because he wants to hire her.
Yeah, right.
Like that's how you approach somebody.
It's like when you see a dog tied up, be like, "Hey, is this your dog?" Right? Like, who's the mother? Yeah, who's this one's? Wow. That's Hollywood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But great. It was fun to watch it again. Haven't watched it in a long, long time. But
I'm sure. Easy watch. I mean, I have to say it. I mean, I didn't want to say it like John, but it was a fun watch. It was.
You hate when I use that word.
Lack of a better term.
It was
very
great,
entertaining.
Yeah, it was very. That's even better. It's very entertaining, and it wasn't. The acting was good, even for Alf there.
Oh, Craig T. Nelson.
Yeah.
Oh, Craig T. Nelson's great.
Yeah, he was great. Or what was he on? The Coach, right?
Coach. He was on
Coach.
Was
a good
he's
show.
Mr.
Coach
Incredible.
is great.
Also,
yeah.
So that's where he's more known lately.
He's still around.
He's been on a lot of sitcom and dramas and things like that too.
He was. He did well on those. His delivery is very good for like normal, like easy comedy.
Guy kind of.
Yeah, right.
I was laughing pretty good when he was on the bed. Same scene as the before after when he was pretending to be on like the high diving board. He's just like whispering the commentary to himself.
He's just
and she's just smoking weed, giggling on the
and giggling, and they were having a blast. Yeah, they were having a good time.
It's great.
I know it was.
The theme song, the beautiful, beautiful opening theme. I love it so much. I love it combined with Suburbia. Like that whole scene is so beautiful. It's funny how it opens. I wonder how many people are confused nowadays if they see this film, not knowing how television used to end every night with the national anthem.
When did that stop happening?
I didn't know that was what that was about. I didn't realize.
Yeah. Well,
when was that?
In the very first of the film, before they do the opening song or anything, they show the TV with the national anthem really close up.
Oh, and that's what that is. Every night they used to do that, huh?
Yeah, it used to be a sign-off of public TV. Now you have 24/7 selling you shit, right? So before, though, it would be off-air, like at 3 a.m. or something like that, or 2, or even midnight, I don't know. Like you would have your late-night TV, and then it would go off-air until like 6 a.m. or something like that.
Because people had to go to sleep. They were working. Yeah, they didn't do the whole round-the-clock thing.
Yeah. So that might just, I wonder if it confuses anybody to be like, what is this?
Yeah. Why are they doing the anthem?
Why isn't that?
I mean, I didn't think anything of it, but I didn't quite know why. So,
I just assumed that's the way it was. Same with everything back then.
Yeah, back then. That was the
I
way
just assumed it was part of the movie. Didn't think twice.
So, yeah, I mean, so the reason I picked this movie, I just went through a list of the 4K movies that are coming out this year. Coming out like this Halloween right now, and this was like this one and the one we're doing next week and the one we're doing the week after that are all like the 3. One of them is new, came out this year, and then these 2 are like classic ones they remastered. So I was like, yeah, that sounds great. We'll watch this. I haven't thought about this movie in a long time. I haven't seen it in over 20 years. But as soon as like I purchased it and set it off, saying like we're going to do it for the podcast, this movie used to be my favorite movie ever when I was a kid.
Oh wow!
We used to I used to force, so we'd have like, during my birthday parties when I was a kid, I would get to rent like 2 movies. And I would rent, I think like 3 or 4 years in a row. This was one of the 2 movies. And I'm pretty sure I watched this when I was really, really fucking young.
Yeah.
But like, I think I must have pissed all of my friends off the second year going on. Just like, I remember the last year I did it. Like, I don't know how I remember this, and it all came like back when I was watching the movie. I was like the only person in the living room watching the movie.
They were so sick of watching it.
Yeah,
it's sad.
Yeah. It's not sad.
Yeah,
that's how much I love this movie, and like,
and that's how willing people were to give up the TV, because back then there was only one, right?
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean? They were like, I'm not watching
they were
this
eating
again.
Pizza, like running around. They were doing fine.
Right.
Right. But still, that's funny.
Well, guys, this is good.
Yeah, I think this movie probably is one of the few movies that like made me like movies a lot. I'm thinking like when I was a kid, just like Steven Spielberg, Jaws, Indiana Jones, and this movie were just like totally magic. And even though now I kind of sit there and I'm like, all right, this doesn't look like it sits in the room. I kind of know like what this is or how they're doing this. There's still something about the way it's like put together with everything you guys said, like the editing, the music, the acting, the pacing, the story, and the characters, like all that stuff just is still really special, I think. And I don't know. There's like nothing else like it. I can't think of another movie. And we're going to try to do one next week because it's a suburban town ghost story. It's on paper,
young styled one. Yeah, it's a more
but it's totally different. Yeah, E.T.'s similar, but this one is totally different.
And I don't know why it's funny that these movies are not higher rated, like higher in this list. E.T. as well. It's like these were like huge movies at the time.
I think it's maybe because the special effects don't hold up as well as people want them to.
Or people are just sick of them.
Maybe.
I don't know.
It's just been so mainstream and so out
accepted.
there. Yeah, that like you don't, it's like part of some other list, that's not even,
This movie's everywhere, like references to this. Don't go
I mean,
into
also
the light,
people voting on the list too might not really be the ones that used to watch this movie.
Maybe, but I don't know.
And the thing is, too, I don't know if you guys noticed, one thing that I noticed that was totally jarring, and my memory isn't good enough to remember what was deleted, but there was a cut in this movie at about 34 minutes, and I noted it being like, what the fuck was that? And I looked it up. I don't know. Did you guys notice one very jarring cut in this movie?
No.
It's at the end of the scene where they're getting pulled across. They put Carol Ann in the helmet and she's being pulled across the kitchen floor. And they're talking about like getting pizza. She's like getting hungry and she's like, I want to get some pizza. And then there's a hard cut to the middle of a conversation of the parents talking to the neighbors. And I think it's the scene where they're asking them like, hey, is anything funny going on here?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And the kid's like, I don't get bit by mosquitoes.
I remember that.
They're just like eating beans.
Oh, yeah. I remember that scene. Yeah, right. Have they ever bitten you, son?
Yeah.
No.
Nope.
I like that. That was funny.
was pretty
we
funny.
have no troubles with mosquitoes.
Yeah, we don't have those troubles.
That was
So
good.
your troubles. Yeah.
So what was cut out?
They talk shit on Pizza Hut.
Ah.
And Pizza Hut got, quote, offended, and then they chopped it out.
Oh, wow.
Oh my god! And by the way, there is so
That was
much product placement in this
Wow.
movie. Holy shit!
I know.
So they talk shit on Pizza Hut, and Pizza Hut brought the hammer down, huh?
No, they didn't sue them or anything. It just says they were upset.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, this is pre-sue for everything America, I guess. They just, like,
Where they
voiced-
call you and they're like, hey, bud, you
You're
know,
like,
I really
that wasn't
wish you
very
wouldn't
nice,
do that.
man. Like,
yeah,
and they're
right.
like, it wasn't. You're right. Let me
Yeah, right.
fuck up the scene.
Yeah, I'm just going to rip out this scene.
So
Yeah.
for theatrical release, they had it, and then they just eventually removed it. Come on, Pizza Hut.
Yeah, and this thing just came out, this 4K Blu-ray. So, like, this is the official purchasable cut now, which is
Wow.
doesn't have the scene. Which
That's amazing.
kinda
That's,
sucks.
that's something else.
Yeah. Who gives a fuck if people think Pizza Hut is
Right.
gross? It is gross.
I mean,
God
right?
damn
Doesn't
it.
that give you more? Doesn't that give you more, you
Publicity?
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think
Yeah.
so?
That's just startling that they would do that.
Yeah.
Like,
And continue to keep it cut that way. Still.
right?
That's
And
so
no
weird.
one cares now.
Yeah. Everyone knows
No,
Pizza Hut
yeah.
is greasy as shit. Come
I
on.
mean, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like instead of just cooking the bread, they just cover it in butter and stick it in the oven.
Yeah, you're not buying Pizza Hut because you think it's healthy and good for you. Come on.
Yeah. Pizza.
So I
Hut
thought that was
forced-
jarring.
there's a lot of look at a lot of the usual blog website stuff about this too. That's just amazing.
Huh. I would not have expected that from Pizza Hut. Seems like such a stupid thing. Like you would want people talking about your pizza, right? So like,
And good or bad,
what the
doesn't
fuck?
matter.
Yeah,
Say
good
the
or
name.
bad.
Say it.
Yeah,
Say Pizza Hut,
say
damn it.
Pizza Hut. Exactly. What do you think you're going to have tonight? Pizza Hut? That's what I thought.
Because the people in the theater aren't going to be like, yeah, okay, I didn't know anything about Pizza Hut. Now I won't have them.
Oh,
It's like,
man, you know what
that
I
kid
could
is
really get?
stupid.
Yeah.
I like Pizza Hut. We should get it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. When we get out of here, you know what we're getting? Pizza Hut.
Right. Oh, so Steven just responds with a groan. Diane says they'd get Pizza Hut, and Steven says, I hate Pizza Hut.
Okay, maybe that sucks. I don't know.
He's a kid. Fuck it. Who gives a shit? God damn it.
Oh, kids are supposed to like Pizza
Pizza
Hut because they're the only
complained to
ones that would
MGM.
eat it and not think it's
That's
disgusting.
a good point.
Ah.
But it's so accurate. Pizza Hut is the worst.
yeah,
I'd rather go to the ground round or fucking
Yeah.
Uno's or
Look, it still says most reports say that the scene was axed before the film debuted in theaters.
fucking ground round.
But yeah, this movie was PG. This movie was fucking gross as a little kid. Scared the shit out of me for a while. I was afraid of thunderstorms, trees outside of windows, closets, under the bed, clouds, pretty much, or clowns.
Everything.
Everything
was
in
fun.
this movie.
Everything that was nice and nature based, you were scared shit was up.
Yeah.
I did the counting. Yep.
Yeah.
Counting
That's
doesn't
why
work.
I learned that. No, it doesn't, but I learned
Nope.
it. That I always remember that too. Yeah, I didn't remember. I'd forgotten where I'd learned it, but that's where I learned it.
No, I think it was more of a scream for me. That worked. Yeah. Just a Would you shut up?
Like, what other big, like The Conjuring made a shit ton of money. That was a haunted house movie with young kids.
Oh, The Exorcist.
Exorcist, is that it's
Yeah,
kind of
it's another one I'm surprised isn't up on this list.
Yeah.
I don't really want to see that one again, but
No.
not nearly as fun as this one.
yeah,
No, that one's gnarly.
that one's not. That one doesn't have a lot of warm entertainment value as well. So.
True. No family time. Just all gross vomit.
It's kind of this movie's like a weird fantasy too of like a different time because there's just the way people act around each other, like how the construction worker guys feel comfortable popping in and stealing food.
Oh yeah, it's funny.
and like
yeah.
how
And that's
like
okay.
they're all hitting on the teenage daughter and the mother's just laughing at them as she
Well, she's
flips them
laughing
off.
because the teenage daughter stands up for herself. Says,
Yeah, that's still like I'm not sure that would be
That wouldn't fly.
that wouldn't
so
fly
well,
these
I guess.
days because it
You
just
know.
seems like a weird.
nothing flies these days,
Right,
though. You
but
can't
it's-
do a goddamn thing.
But isn't it
let
nice to
alone
look
that.
back to these times? I guess when kids were.
Yeah,
it
when
seems like the
things were
kids are
fun.
more independent, right? Like they're
Yeah.
having a shitty time at home. The teenage daughter's just like living at her friend's house.
Well,
sort
you
of
know what
thing.
though? Kids used to go do shit. That's why.
Yeah.
Now they all sit on the video games. All those kids. Playing them video games.
How old are you, TC? Blaming video games.
I'm 90. I'm 90.
Yeah.
I stopped at PlayStation 4, so I'm screwed. I'll never play another video game again.
It's just because you can't get the 5 is the only reason.
Oh, is that
You
true?
can get those
Is
now.
that true?
No, you
I
can't.
think you can start. No,
No.
you still can.
Yep, they're still sold
Why?
out.
What happened?
Chip
Oh, they just-
shortage.
Short supply.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Semiconductors.
Yeah, they just like put a dog and a child in a cab, and they're like, "Yeah, take him, cabbie. Please don't kill him."
Go.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're good for this, right?
That's not happening these days.
No.
I don't care if you live in the suburbs.
I mean, you guys got a serial killer up there, so.
We do?
Yeah, Stockton. Isn't that right by you?
What?
There's a serial killer in Stockton?
Yeah. Six so far.
What?
Yeah, you didn't know about this
No.
yet? How do I know about this and you don't know about this?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, they got a serial killer out there, baby. Better be careful. Yeah, they just released some video of the guy yesterday.
That's too real scary. Fuck that.
Yeah, that's actually scary. It's fucking serious. Yeah. Dude, this dude just like picks random people. He's not even like, it doesn't even seem like he has a type. He's just going up and killing people and getting away with it. Yeah, it's fucking nuts. So yeah, be careful if you're in Stockton, anyone.
I won't go to Stockton. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay safe in Stockton.
You better hope he doesn't go to Oakland.
Yeah. I'll leave the house anyway. Fuck it.
Yeah, right. Me either. Yeah, I'm good.
He's not breaking into houses and killing people, right?
Yeah. I mean, shit, lock that fucking door, dude. You got the fleas now. Now you get the fucking.
Yeah, don't come in here. We're infested.
You got the serial. Look, dude, we got fleas, man. You don't want this. Yeah. Saved by flea.
Yes. All right. What do you got for book corner, John?
A couple of things. So,
what is there to read on this book?
Well, there's nothing. I mean, it was a story by Steven Spielberg. He kind of conceived the idea. He initially had an idea called like Night Skies. It was kind of like going to be a sequel to Close Encounters, but more of it with a horror kind of bent to it. And then that just never sort of went anywhere. So it was like a follow-up, but it was going to be called Watch the Skies, but that had been trademarked. So then they went with Night Skies for a while. And that started to like spin off into the origin of E.T. As well. So because Night Skies was more about aliens, but then there was a horror bit, but then the aliens were dealing with kids, and then it's just sort of shifted into E.T. And then there were other parts of Night Skies which maybe sort of shifted off into Gremlins as well. So
did he write Gremlins?
No, but he just had these ideas and was hanging out with these people, and I think that they
stole his idea.
He might have been like a producer on Gremlins.
It was Amblin, I think.
Yeah,
produced.
I think he had something to do with Gremlins. But anyway, so it just sort of had this like, and again, it's just amazing to think of Spielberg. He was just involved in all these amazing, Jaws, Indiana Jones, E.T.
He directed
Park,
this movie. Spoilers.
Well, yeah,
he directed Poltergeist.
Right. So there are people that like, they try to like keep a controversy going there, but yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, and you can talk about that. You probably have more trivia on that, but it's just sort of.
Is that what you got from your trivia and reading too? Is that he did it?
Yeah. Just that he, at the very least, was very hands-on here. That he certainly was actively working on this film, and it wasn't, maybe he wasn't quote unquote directing all the time, but he certainly had a whole lot of input, it seems. And you can tell, right? I mean, this is his film. This is a Spielberg film.
Yeah. If you've seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there is nothing relating this movie to that movie.
Except maybe in the last third, they're like, he's like, can she be half naked? All right, Toby, she can be half naked.
I guess.
All right. I don't know, but whatever. It's just it's just fine. But other stuff I have is because I haven't done any reading on Spielberg with his interviews. They have a version of the Interviews with Filmmakers book for Spielberg, of course. So I've got some quotes and kind of gone back a little bit in the Jaws days a little bit here too. Because there's not a lot about Poltergeist because it's not like necessarily like something he did a lot of interviews and talking about because it wasn't his film in a way. But this one was, again, these are great books. And if you're interested in any of these directors, it's really fun to get these books and read through them. So I'm just going to give snippets of this. But this one was edited by Brent Nothomb and Lester D. Friedman. And the first one I was going to read is a 1974 interview called At Sea with Steven Spielberg. This is from Take One magazine. And the interviewer was David Halpern. And Spielberg says he started out making his own films, home movies. Like he was a geek and he was just making like, 8 millimeter, 16 millimeter, 35 millimeter films. And he made a short film in 35
John,
millimeter.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? You said 1974.
Yes.
For context, what had he done before then? Because Jaws was 75.
He'd done TV.
That's it?
And
So he wasn't
in
like...
the process of making Jaws.
Okay.
He'd done a lot of TV, and he'd done Sugarland Express.
Yeah, and Duel.
That was the film that he'd done.
Right,
which
Duel
I'd like
too?
to see. Yeah, I've never seen it, but it's an interesting one. It didn't do well commercially.
Okay. So pre-Jaws, or like during...
Yes, during Jaws,
Current
basically.
Jaws.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. So anyway, he just talked about how he made a 35 millimeter film. He found it backward. They gave him $10,000. He made this short film, and Sid Sheinberg saw it, and he was the president of Universal Studios. And then he put Spielberg under a term contract to direct television. And so Spielberg was directing television. He directed the first episode of Columbo, amongst many other things. So he actually was busy, and he had like a 7-year contract to do that stuff.
There's no way there's any point in his life where he wasn't busy, seeing how, how he works.
And his first actual picture was a film called, first film, it was for television, it was called Night Gallery. It had Joan Crawford in it. She played this blind dowager in Manhattan during a New York blackout. It was kind of a Rod Serling kind of piece. He did a lot of stuff, even before he made it big in the movies. He was busy. So he kicked around the studio. So he did 2 episodes of the series. He says he did the first Columbo that was ever on the air. And he did one Name of the Game, Marcus Wiley. He did an Owen Marshall. I guess these were popular TV series or just series that were on, and he would just direct these things.
Heard of Columbo. Don't know what it is, but heard of it.
And
Detective show.
Oh. Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Columbo with, Peter Falk, wasn't it? Is that his name? He's like,
let me check.
And he'd always ask questions. He was like, so...
You ever get any Spielberg vibes watching Columbo?
Yeah. Maybe the first one? I don't know. I have to watch the first one because he didn't direct a lot of them. And that series was on quite a lot.
Yeah, you know who he is, Denny, if you see him. I'm going to try to put it in the chat.
Columbo.
So, and one of the things that really caught on was when he made the Duel. The movie was called Duel. And it caught on not in America at all. It was like there was a European critic, Dilys Powell, who saw the picture and gathered all the London critics together and showed it to them. And then that got Universal and CSE to release the picture in Europe, where it did really, really well. And it still wasn't like a big success in America. But then a lot of people started to see it in America because of all the buzz that was around there. And that's how he kind of got moving into actual more films.
I think it's listed as a TV movie on IMDb.
Oh, is it?
Which is weird. I guess it's
Was it? Maybe it was a TV movie that just got well received.
Other
TV
duels.
movies. He called it. It was 3 TV movies. He did Duel and Something Evil and Savage, and then he did Sugarland Express.
Have you guys seen
so he
Duel?
did those TV movies.
It's not bad,
isn't it? It'd be interesting to see it.
Yeah, it's like a guy in the desert, and a truck starts following him and starts kind of attacking him, and there's like no driver in the truck, and he's just being attacked in the desert by a truck.
Oh.
Wow. And he's in a car.
Like Maximum Overdrive?
No, I mean, kind of, but it's just one truck. It's like chasing him around and he's trying to lose it. So seems very low budget. They probably didn't even have rights to film in the desert. They just like went to some dusty roads and rented a truck for 2 weeks or whatever. But it's not bad.
And Sugarland Express sounds interesting. It's kind of about how, I don't know, some kind of crime happens in Texas and the media gets all involved and they sort of make heroes out of the criminals or something like that. Just he thought it was really this kind of interesting idea how people want to be part of the news. They want to be in it. And, that people can create major news stories by doing the smallest, most simple act.
Is he cross-eyed?
Like old. Yeah, old.
I didn't see that.
That looks really funny.
Isn't it? I found
his eyes are at different heights and they're crossed.
I gotta put that one. That's how he is.
He's sort of like.
I don't mean to laugh at his people.
I think it's hilarious.
No,
yeah.
He pretends to be like he doesn't, like he's stupid or something, and he solves all these cases by sort of like making people think he doesn't know what's going on
because of how he looks.
Well, and talks. He also has a very like, I don't know what's going on here. You just explain this to me.
Is this where Monk came from? He's kind of got a Monk hairdo going on.
It's just the show's all about him being a Los Angeles detective. So it was actually really good, pretty good. Yeah.
Those pictures are good.
Yeah, they are. Sorry, John.
Yeah, sorry, John.
That's all right. Anyway, just for the audience at home, TC's like showing us pictures of Columbo.
Yeah, great podcast material.
Yeah.
If you don't know who he is, Google it. You might
right?
laugh a little bit.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah.
So Sugarland failed commercially, at the time of this interview, they were going to re-release it because it did badly in the opening, and there were a bunch of Spielberg thought the marketing wasn't done well, and there was a whole lot of other films coming out right then: Serpico, The Exorcist, The Sting, Papillion, and American
he was
Graffiti.
fucked.
Yeah, those 6 hits had just come out, and so I think he thought people were sort of maybe burned out from going to the films. You know, a lot of people have been seeing all these great films that had come out, and he just thought so many pictures were making so much money, and so that was, releasing Sugarland Express right then wasn't the greatest time. So he talks about the Jaws project. He said he was attracted to it because of the novel that really brought him into it. And he talks a lot about Jaws, about how they were just they were like constantly writing the script as it went along. They would like get together with the actors, with Roy Scheider and Richard Dreyfuss, and they would just riff and figure out what they wanted to do. And that's how things like them singing the song in the boat came about, and so on.
Wow.
He just talked about that through those 3 characters, that was kind of became really the core of the movie as well. And just really how that sort of evolved.
Kind of devolved away from the scripts, for sure.
Right. Yeah. And Spielberg's just talking about how, everybody was contributing ideas. And then I guess during this interview, they were on set, and Richard Dreyfuss like pokes into the interview and just says, whoever put the most ideas in there wins the shark at the end of the shooting. So anyway, that was just a little comedy from Richard Dreyfuss there. Okay, that's it for that interview. All right, let's see where we are here. So this is a longer article, another article with Premiere in 1982, and it's called Steven Spielberg and His Adventures on Earth. And this is, the magazine is called American Premiere, and the interviewer is Susan Royal. And he just talks about some of his movies, like he just doesn't think like he said that doing a sequel reduces filmmaking from an art to a science. So it's like one of his quotes where he says, he goes on to say he doesn't think all films, that it doesn't apply to all films, but the movies, like a lot of movies end, like it just becomes a formula then. It's like, well, what do you do after the end of Jaws? You just have the shark come back and then you kill the shark again. It's sort of more of a formula at that point, and it doesn't necessarily make sense. So he was just sort of talking about that in terms of how he felt about sequels. But he goes on to say there's other films like Star Wars or other, like that make sense that you've got these sequels because you've got this ongoing story. And one of the things that with Raiders, and we can talk about this probably more when we get to Raiders of the Lost Ark, but George Lucas and Spielberg both had these amazing hit films. Like George had Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, and Spielberg had Jaws and Close Encounters. And they together went to the studios and said, we're going to get a much bigger cut of our next product here. And they went to a lot of studios, and a lot of studios turned them down until Paramount stepped up and said they would do it, that they would take the risk. And that was for Raiders of the Lost Ark. So it's interesting to think about. We know that George Lucas did a lot of this too. And I didn't know as much about Spielberg doing this, about going and saying, we're going to do what we want. You guys are going to pay us more. And so it's pretty cool what they were doing together. So then they get, Premiere is asking a little bit about executive producing and what it's like. And they say, well, what about Poltergeist? And Spielberg says, I line produced Poltergeist. That was my production. I was very involved with that film from the beginning, from the storyboarding through the editing. Poltergeist is the story of a family, a normal suburban family in California that has a poltergeist experience revolving around their youngest child, 5-year-old Carol Ann. And in the movie, it develops into a chaotic nightmare for the family. So Spielberg says he was very, very involved there. And he said, Poltergeist was something I conceived while I was doing Raiders. I always wanted to make a ghost movie ever since I was a kid. I loved what happened in Close Encounters when the child was kidnapped by the mothership and taken away by his friends of equal proportion. So I kind of blended a little bit of the kidnapping of the child in Close Encounters with the research I'd done about Poltergeist, and made a movie about a child who's kidnapped by ghosts in her own suburban home. They interestingly said, like, do you storyboard all your movies? And he actually said that after Poltergeist, he was really tired of that, and he actually ended up not winging E.T. And said it was much more spontaneous with E.T. He didn't storyboard E.T. the way he'd been storyboarding his films.
You said not winging, or he was winging?
He was winging E.T.
Okay.
Yeah.
You winged E.T.? That's weird. Doesn't seem like a movie you would wing. They talk about the curse in any of these books? Probably not.
No, the wiki mentions it though. That again, the both Carol Ann died during the filming of the second one, and the older daughter was choked to death by her.
That's wrong.
What?
Oh, what happened?
That's wrong.
I thought, or at the end of the second one, didn't she?
She was in the third one too.
She had Crohn's disease, or maybe it was the third one. She had Crohn's disease, and then she died of a heart attack.
She died of a heart attack
right after the third one.
Right during the end of the filming of the third one. She was still in the third one. She was only 12.
Older sister.
Yeah, she had a heart attack due to intestinal stenosis, whatever the hell that is.
Sounds awful.
I think that's Crohn's disease, but I don't know.
Could be. And also, the older daughter died when she was 22. Her boyfriend strangled her in a driveway.
What?
And then she died like days afterwards in the hospital.
Holy shit. Yeah. Talk about tragedy in that family.
Those are the two worst things. There's like a whole poltergeist curse that is associated with this.
I'm sure there is.
Some of the other people working on the movie like got killed by fucked up means. Like one guy got killed by an axe. And and a lot of people said all this stuff is stupid, but they were haunted during the filming of the movie. Like they had odd things happen to them. So some of these actors like believe in ghosts and they thought they were being like haunted by things. Yeah.
They're actors.
Those are nothing. But people like to pile onto the story just to like,
Well, sure. It's exciting. It adds to the, the idea, you're working on a spooky film and spooky things happen. Let's see. So I don't have a lot more here on the premiere interview. I don't think I go any further than this. But he just talks about how he likes to play tricks on the actors just to keep them spontaneous and fresh. And premiere's like saying, "Oh, no mean tricks." And he says, "Not with the kids." He says in Raiders, he dropped snakes on Karen Allen's head because I didn't think she was screaming for real.
Holy shit.
That's not cool.
That'll be interesting to revisit when we get to Raiders.
That is fucked up.
Is that shot in the movie? Probably.
I don't know. We'll have to learn.
Yeah.
That's fucked. They ask Spielberg if he believes in Poltergeist. He says, "Oh, yes, I do. I absolutely do. I believe in Poltergeist and UFOs. In every movie I made, I essentially believed in what the films were about, even Jaws. I do believe there are sharks close to 20 feet long in the ocean. The largest ever caused 21 feet. If I ever make a film about a 50-foot woman, I'll believe in that too."
So what does that even mean?
It doesn't mean anything at the end of that, right? Other than that, he's going to believe in it as he does it.
Right.
Sure. Well, whatever he has to think to make movies like this, that's fine.
Well, right. He's got to he's got to get deep into it. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. When he was young, his parents used to put the blanket over the TV screen because otherwise he would sneak out and watch it at night.
Why not just take the blanket off?
And his dad would arrange plants and things very precisely and sometimes put like a hair or something there to tell it that he'd lifted the dust off or lifted the blanket off or not, and he would replace the hair. So they had this game of cat and mouse going on with Spielberg wanting to watch TV all the time at night or staying up late and watching television.
That's pretty funny.
Just a TV guy. No biggie.
He just loves watching the screen.
He must have every service just like me. Yeah.
No, he probably shits on streaming these days. He probably just has his own theater in his house and plays like film.
Oh, well, right. But it's hooked up to Netflix. Come on.
You think?
Spielberg has been escorted.
Come on. 100%.
I would bet money that he doesn't have Netflix.
I bet she's got all that.
I bet he has
just
got
a
like
normal TV
original
with like
prints and shit. And he just
I think he's probably just got like a normal room with a normal TV.
I'm sure he has it. He may never watch
fuck.
it, but he probably has it.
He's too damn
just
busy.
Like everybody else who has it.
He's trying. He's working. He's typing.
Yep. Right.
On a typewriter.
Oh yeah, he's busy. So Spielberg has been thrown off 2 Hitchcock movie sets.
What?
That's awesome. What a great thing.
Why was he on a set?
When he was a teenager, he was thrown off Tom Curtin. He just was there and didn't belong there. After Jaws came out,
that makes
sense.
He
was thrown off another Hitchcock movie, Family Plot. So
why?
It was eerie the second time he said I was thrown off the set. I walked onto the stage and Hitchcock was sitting with his back to me watching the action. And all of a sudden it was as if he sensed an intruder in his reversed vision. He couldn't have seen me, but he leaned over to an assistant director and whispered something. And a few months passed and the AD came over to me and said, "Sir, this is a closed set." And I was escorted off the set. And it was actually quite thrilling.
That's awesome.
This was the closest I came to Hitchcock, and I learned that he had eyes in the back of his head.
Who's this fucking kid? Get out of here. I love it. That's awesome. That's a great thing to have in your fucking, that's a great thing.
Right.
That is not
because
surprising.
It's not easy. It's not easy.
And it's probably impossible these days.
They just built them so that they have their own little like surroundings, you know? So it's, you're not really getting in there without being seen. There's only a few ways in, there's only a few ways out.
He probably comically hid behind like somebody walking in.
Yeah, right.
People.
Or he just like tagged on the back of a car and just held on tight until he. So, Jesus.
Well, thankfully he did that because then,
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. Since he made it, it's cool.
Yeah.
If he didn't make it, it would be just like whatever.
Yeah.
So the premiere talks to Spielberg about how a lot of his movies are on time, they're on budget, they're doing well, other than Jaws, and that he has gone back to doing more complete storyboarding stuff. And he talks about, they're talking about Raiders 2 and whether that would be completely storyboarded. He said, just like the last Raiders, he says, George Lucas is a great influence over me in terms of economics and budgets and schedules. He's a great producer, and he's taught me a lot about creative compromise, about how you don't have to spend $30 million to get $50 million on the screen. And George shortcuts with little, I call them Pac-Man detours. He's been very good, not only with me and Raiders, but with himself, like American Graffiti and Star Wars. He's his own best producer, and he's a very good producer for anybody else who works with him. So he, again, just has a lot of respect and admiration for Lucas, or at least when he talks about him. He's also bad for video games at the time. He had all these Atari cabinets everywhere. So he loved like Missile Command and Asteroids at the time. And so he was big into video games and talked about how he wants to make video games someday.
Well, he got to make Ready Player One, so there was something there for him.
Yeah. He mentions that, again, the working well in crisis situations and just going with the flow sometimes too. And he talks about the famous scene in Raiders where Harrison was like almost dead on his feet, and they just made the decision to have him shoot that guy.
Supposed to be a big sword fight, right?
Yeah, instead of have a big sword whip fight.
It's funny how some directors make compromises, and then some directors make compromises and they end up being better than the original every fucking time. I don't know how that happens.
I don't know how that works.
Yeah. It's like, is he just winning the lottery over and over again, or is there something to him?
The universe wants it.
So, that's all I got in terms of interviews. There'll be more as we do Raiders and Saving Private Ryan. And we've at least got 2 more Spielberg films on our official list, right? Is there more? Oh, is Color Purple on there? No, Schindler's List is, though.
Schindler's List, 3 more, yeah.
So we got 3 more Spielberg films.
And I'm going to force you guys to watch his new one because it's getting really good reviews.
What's his new one?
The Fablemans. Or Fablemans.
Huh. Yeah, it sounds awful.
Not a great title, but it's
sounds awful.
No, not an interesting title.
So it's about him. Yeah. He made it pretty much an autobiography of himself, and it's got a really good cast, and it's getting really good reviews. So, but so do all of his movies. It's tough. All of his movies get good reviews, and I've watched all of them the past 20 years, and they're not as good as they used to be.
Lately, Player One wasn't much.
It was okay.
Right? I mean, I never saw it.
You didn't see it?
Yeah.
It's worth watching. There's one scene. It switches all, the 3, you read the book?
Yeah.
There's the 3 keys they have to go get. They switch all the key adventures, and one of them is, I don't want to spoil it for you unless, you're not going to see it unless I tell you. They go into the movie The Shining.
Oh,
and they recreate the movie The Shining, and they're in it like in virtual reality trying to find this key. It's fucking awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah. A lot of the rest of it isn't totally great, but like that scene was really
pretty
good.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, we're going to watch that one too. So, all right. This movie came with some special features and they sucked really bad.
Oh, no way.
There was a documentary on the paranormal, I guess. I don't know what you would call it. It was like a puff piece for all these fucking psychos who actually believe in ghosts and stuff. Like they had, the people like just this guy you've never seen. Underneath it has his name, and then underneath it's like cultural anthropologist, paranormal investigator, ghost hunter.
Oh boy,
like just that kind of thing. And there's nothing like they kept trying to sell themselves, sort of like they were trying to promote themselves. They all seemed very pleased with being on camera. Like it was just really hard
weird.
to watch.
Yeah. I mean, I almost ended up buying this book, because I was doing this to try to like read about Poltergeist or something. And there's a book called Poltergeist Demons in the Home. And the introduction is straight out of fucking Ghostbusters. It's like, introduction, do you or does someone you know have demonic spirits in the home? Are you thrust out of sleep by banging doors, the sound of footsteps, or lights going on and off? Do you see mysterious shadows on the wall or creatures at the foot of your bed? If so, I have good news for you. Your house can be cleansed just as the inside man can be swept clean of demonic spirits. So too can a house or dwelling be swept clean from the presence and harassment of evil spirits.
When was this book written?
Wow.
That is straight from Ghostbusters.
This is like, what was this?
Somebody ripped somebody else off. That's
doesn't it?
It's from the Ghostbusters.
This is like 2015. So you're right. It totally is. But this is like a very Christian thing where it's all about the power of God cleansing the
power
house
of Christ compels you.
Like he talks about how like he was in a hotel where people had watched violent films and he had violent dreams. So certainly not his fault. So anyway, they cleansed the room and then it was all better. So
fucking
With sage.
psychos, dude.
With sage or some bullshit.
yeah, these people don't think they're
I
crazy.
almost bought that book just because there's a lot of stuff like that if you look at Poltergeist or whatever. Like
Oh,
all
man.
this how to
I
be a
watched
spiritual warrior.
I watched The Conjuring, and that movie is pretty good. And it has this like these two, the Warren family, who are real people, and it's based on a true story. And they have a book called Demonologists, and they made a lot of money doing this shit, and they're just con artists. They're 100% con artists, and it's a little aggravating. Like the people that do this, it's just to trick people and to make money.
Yeah.
And one of the guys they interviewed saw Poltergeist as a movie, and he's like, "That looks like a good job." And then he went, and now it is his job. So apparently, you can have that as your job.
That's fun. I want to go in there and be the badass.
They all have
and
this
say,
like
this house is clean.
They kept trying to sell like how scientific it was. It's like, we're not doing this like a bunch of crazy people. We have scientific tools that measure radiation and other things.
Oh,
and they just like show their little beeping machines, and they're like,
they
oh yeah, there's a ghost
the
in here.
magmentator and the strong on her. And right.
I know. Yeah.
It was rough. But there was another thing, like a making of little thing that wasn't very long, but the entire thing was Spielberg directing people. The entire fucking thing. And they showed Tobe Hooper once, and he was like whispering to an extra. He was just like hanging out, like wasn't even on set. He was just like sitting in a corner next to a guy in like a weird outfit, and he was just like quietly talking to him.
So that solves that then.
Spielberg's contract said he could not direct a simultaneous film.
Right,
and so,
because E.T. was, they had him for E.T., and contractually he needed to be there for E.T., but E.T. was like delayed for some reason.
Yeah.
They didn't say why.
So they had the other guy do the directing so they get around all the bullshit?
Well, he was supposed to direct, but it seemed like Spielberg had some free time, and E.T. and this movie filmed 20 minutes away from each other in L.A. So it's like, the reason it looks similar is because it apparently is like the same fucking neighborhood in L.A.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
But he was in in this making of, he was in every shot of directing. Like, he came up with the visual effects. There were shots of him describing what he wanted to see. It's like, all right, so we got the ghost come out of the ground, and then it floats up, and it kind of like comes out and does it slowly, then all of a sudden, boom, and then a whoosh of air, and he's just describing it to the special effects guys. And that's what's in the movie. Like, he's describing what we see in the movie. So he's directing the special effects guys. He's directing the actors. He's storyboarding it. He edited it. He edited the music. He wrote the fucking story.
Yeah.
He did everything. He made this movie. Like, there's zero question. Right. And there was the interview that outed him. I have it quoted here.
But he even took out a page ad thanking the director about telling what a great job he did.
It was because of this. So what happened was he went, I think it was on
But again, maybe because there's legal people started to say, hey,
probably.
buddy.
Yeah. There was a Directors Guild Association investigation after this claim.
Oh, I'm sure. The union wants their dues.
Found that he did not actually direct it.
Okay.
So I don't believe that either, because I fucking saw it. Like, there's footage of him directing the movie. There's a lot of footage, and there's no footage of Tobe directing this movie.
But he never directed it. Don't you understand?
Got it. All right.
I
want to.
Yeah, right.
I want to live.
That's all it is.
I want to live.
They are the mob, literally.
Right.
So this is Spielberg in an interview talking about Tobe Hooper, the quote director. Tobe isn't. The pause is in the quote. A take charge sort of guy. If a question was asked and the answer wasn't immediately forthcoming, I'd jump in and say what we could do. Tobe would nod in agreement, and that became the process of our collaboration.
That was on the Wikipedia too.
Okay.
That was on the wiki page for the film too, yeah.
Co-producer Frank Marshall spoke out to the press and claimed the creative force of the movie was Steven. Tobe was the director and was on set every day, but Steven did the design for every storyboard and was only absent for 3 days during the shoot because he was in Hawaii with George Lucas.
Very cool.
Hooper later claimed he did half of the storyboards. Spielberg then sent a letter to Hooper to clarify matters. Regrettably, some of the press has misunderstood that rather unique creative relationship you and I shared throughout the making of Poltergeist. I enjoyed your openness in allowing me as a writer and producer a wide berth for creative involvement, just as I know you were happy with the freedom you had to direct Poltergeist so wonderfully. That was after he got
that's
shit.
What he put in public. Like, that was like a published letter. Like, he took it on an ad basically and put that there.
Yeah.
He must have been
about PR.
It's about PR, like probably the threat of getting sued, right?
It's about all the unions coming for him because they broke the rules.
Right.
Yeah.
But
someone's not making money because of it. You're taking food out of my kid's mouth. All right? The fuck, guy.
He did edit this movie, and he was editing this movie up into the production of E.T. Took him 3 weeks to edit it. This movie, which is
that's it.
That's not long. Yep. Because he had it all put together.
Guys had so much to do.
I think it's because he was so involved at this time that he just knew exactly how it was going to fit together.
Yeah, right. He knew what he wanted. He was like, "We're going to do it exactly how I want it. Thanks," and we're going to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm in busy mode.
Mm-hmm. So Drew Barrymore auditioned for this movie and didn't get it, but then because she auditioned for this movie, she was cast in E.T. as Gertie. So she wasn't even like auditioned for E.T. She was just cast as the little girl in that one. The house this movie takes place in is in Simi Valley. You know where that is, TC?
I sure do.
Yeah, it's still there. Most recent sale was in 2009.
Oh, nice. Yep. Somebody's actually living in the Poltergeist house.
Yep.
Yeah, that's I wouldn't doubt it.
This movie was originally rated R, but the filmmakers pressured the rating, the people who rate it, to be PG. And
what did I tell you?
And this is before we had the PG-13 movie, which is
this was
something
a couple
that was
of years
made special for maybe Gremlins
and The Temple of Doom. Those two movies, both
so
Spielberg
had a role in that.
Yeah, and he was the one who recommended it because all of the movies he was making at the time, I looked it up, Sean. He executive produced Gremlins. All the movies he was making at this time were like aimed kind of towards kids, but were full of fucking scary ass violence. So. He's just like, hey, how about instead of us fighting you on these R's every time, we have a rating in between because I plan on making a lot of movies in between these two things. This is my
style now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that was his suggestion and they ran with it. So in the UK, this movie was originally rated X.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if that's the same. I mean, it's the same X. It's 18 plus and kids can't go to the theaters to see it, but I don't know if it has the same like connotation. Right.
Yeah.
But it was re-rated to 15, which is still a rating because they created that in November of 1982. So
I see. So because this film was scary. Like I had to watch this without this definitely was more of an R kind of film than a PG.
There's
kind
gore.
Of film,
There's a dude ripping his face off.
Yeah,
that's R.
I mean, all they had to do was just have one topless scene, and then there was no going back. But they
but as long as you do legs and stomach, you're good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just the image of that kid getting half eaten by the trees, like stuck in my head forever. It's fucking scary as shit.
I laughed when that happened.
Really?
That was funny. Oh. Yeah. Oh, so good. So good.
So good.
Yeah, it was so good.
It's like, eat him. You're just sitting there. Eat him.
Like, holy shit. And I love how the dad didn't go towards the window. He just like, well, I'm going to go outside. He must be outside because the tree's got him.
All right, the tree can eat, but the tree can't move, right? Tree's going nowhere.
So like, I'm just going to go downstairs and go outside.
My shoes on, and my coat.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah. Don't take him too far,
So the crawling of the stake and the moving of the chairs was done with a dual wire setup where they had stiff wires with the stake attached either end, and they would push one to like caterpillar it and then pull one to flatten it out across the table.
Okay.
And they couldn't digitally edit things out, so they just had to shoot it so you couldn't see the wires. Same thing with the chair. They had one wire to like shake it and then one wire to pull it across the room.
Huh. So I didn't notice
just wire. No, you couldn't. I don't know how you get away with that, but they did it.
Just the lighting or something,
Yeah, back in the day when you really had to plan it out.
Yeah. This movie got nominated for 3 Oscars, and it lost 2 Oscars, the effects and the score, to E.T.
He just like ruled that neighborhood at that time, huh?
Well, sorry, Toby.
Sorry, everybody. I'm going to own this area for a bit.
The winner is me.
Yeah. Right?
I just got to make 5 movies a year, and I can't lose.
Right, exactly. I'm going to just control the town.
The scene where she opens the door and the beast kind of crawls out at her in the upstairs room, that was a puppet underwater with lights behind it kind of shining through the moving water to get all that.
I thought that was animated.
No, that was an actual puppet.
Oh, wow.
As long as you were thinking of the same thing. It's like a dog skeleton looking thing.
Right. It's like the latter third of the movie where she's trying
to save them and like the thing stops her. Yeah.
And that thing has like the big long arms.
Yeah.
Sort of like
puppet.
Scary puppet.
Jo Beth Williams, the mom, she was hesitant in shooting in the swimming pool because all around the set, they had like wind machines and rain machines and hoses, and the pool was full of water. So she's like, I don't want to fucking get electrocuted and die in here. So Spielberg crawled into the water with her, And he said, the quote is, "Now if a light falls in, we'll both fry." And that apparently made her comfortable enough to go in there.
Right.
The director is comfortable enough with this. It is reassuring.
Yeah.
You know.
I don't know. I think it was more
yourself.
of a power move. He was like, look, I'm in the fucking thing. You have no excuse. Let's go.
Yeah.
Cut.
Yeah.
Action. Let's go. Right?
I feel bad perpetuating this if it's not true, but Jo Beth Williams, the mom, had an AMA sometime recently on Reddit, and she said that she later learned that the skeletons in the pool scene were real skeletons that were used because they were much cheaper than making fake skeletons.
Oh,
I don't believe that.
I don't believe that either.
Right? There's no way they're going to put corpses
Where are you gonna get 'em?
in the water.
Right.
Where do you get 'em?
Sure, I'm not sure
Who's
how
selling?
they're cheaper.
Who's selling actual human bones?
Couldn't you
and
like
getting away
get
with
sick by doing that?
No, but just think about it. Like, where are they getting them? Who's got?
Well,
I don't
I mean,
know.
it might just be, I don't know, maybe they got, Hollywood maybe has like real bones.
Yeah,
They're
I got
cheap
this
for
guy
rent.
Johnny. He's
all
he
mafia
just
shit.
collects bones, human bones, but he lives in Stockton on the weekends, and he's a
That's
good guy.
weird.
He'll come through. He's got bones. That doesn't make any
Bones.
sense.
We call him
right?
Joey
He's got-
Bones.
yeah, Johnny Bones. That's right.
Oh.
Don't worry about it.
Well,
He's got you.
Snopes says it's true.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
fucking crazy.
Snopes.
Film special effects makeup artist revealed one of the secrets behind one of the horror classic sequences in a deposition.
Oh,
Deposition?
shit, really?
At the
All right,
fucking-
now I believe it.
Now, so there
Yeah.
you go, right? They're like, where'd you get the bones? Right?
You're like, I'm not telling my secret.
Yeah.
He's like, you're under oath. You fucking answer the
you're
question.
You're under arrest.
Yeah.
That's a dead body. Where'd you get the bones? Right? That makes no sense to me. I'm sorry. That's fucking not a real story.
Wait, it's on
no way.
Snopes, though.
So
Yeah.
Bruce
Yeah,
I guess the
Cassidy-
Snopes say that he said in a deposition that it was true. There's no other proof besides this guy's
Bruce
story.
Cassidy was
Yeah,
the
yeah,
film's
yeah, yeah.
assistant prop master. He said they came from Carolina Biological, naming a medical and science
There
supply
you go,
company that
TC.
sold human skeletons mainly for use in medical
Sounds
schools
legit.
back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Replica skeletons did not exist as far as I remember at the time. They're now common
Yeah.
and relatively cheap.
Oh, now,
no
now it would
problem.
have been easy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But back
sure,
then,
sure.
he was a liar. But now you can get corpses left and right. Who cares?
yeah. Of course, it's easy.
I mean, you could have
Yeah.
the skeletons in a classroom, so I guess it's different than being in a pool with them and having them like up in your face. But
yeah, just a bit. It's insane. What a story.
I almost took footage of this one piece of the behind the scenes where the scene where the mother was like in her bedroom and then starts like flipping up and going on the ceiling and on the wall and all that stuff. They built this giant fucking set in this giant like airplane hangar warehouse, and they put the entire room on like a pivot kind of thing.
right,
And they
so
had a fixed camera,
a little tumble ride.
tumble ride, and there was like, everything was wired back then. There's no, I guess everything is still wired now, but like there was just a shit ton of cables at the center of it, and it looked huge. Like what they built was huge for that one.
Monstrosity.
That
Yeah,
one scene, they
that
have her
one
crawling
scene.
up the wall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Yeah. Well, they just did a soundstage. They made just like a huge soundstage, and they built a.
It looked bigger than a soundstage. It looked like some kind of like boat shipyard thing. Like the
wow.
interior, like this, the thing they built was huge. It was inside something, and that thing was
Man,
just like
that's
massive.
tough on her. She had like the last 20 minutes or so of the movie, she was just getting thrown around, crawling on walls, screaming the whole time. She had a lot to do. She does a good job.
She does a great
But,
job. She was. I thought acting wise, she was the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like there was a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of different kinds of emotion coming from her, and she must have been tired after every day of the shoot. 'Cause she's always like crying or like running around or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
There was a lot of footage of them when they were shooting outside during the rainstorm of everyone just like shivering in between takes because none of them were wearing that much clothes. Like even
Right.
Craig T. Nelson has like a very
That.
tiny T-shirt on, and that's all he has on. So he's just like shivering.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Nope.
And those shots probably took a long time to set up too, I would imagine.
God damn.
In between
fuck that.
takes. The last piece of trivia I have is how they destroyed the house at the end of the movie. They built a model. It was 4 feet across, and they attached 100 wires to different points inside the model's structure, I guess.
And then just
Huh.
pull
And then
them
they
down.
had, where they had all the wires pulled through underneath the house, they had a big vacuum in a tube. And then they had a few special effects guys with shotguns standing around this house set. And what they did is the plan was, so this all happened within 2 seconds, but what happened was, and the plan was, they're going to turn the vacuum on. They're going to, first of all, turn the camera on because they're filming at 300 frames a second, and it takes 15 seconds for the camera to get up to that speed. So you got film on the camera, 15 seconds after the camera's on, turn the vacuum on, have somebody grab the wires and then rip the wires down. And the vacuum is so all the house pieces like fall into the house as opposed to like exploding everywhere. And then people with shotguns shooting the house set.
Whoa.
All within 2 seconds, they filmed that. And this is back in the day where they didn't, they had no idea how it looked because it happened like that.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a long shot. So they had to wait for dailies the next day and it came out perfect. They got it in one take.
Dude.
Wow. I remember being
that must have been
really wowed by
fucking
that
awesome.
scene when I was little. I remember thinking
they were so proud of that. They showed it to Spielberg.
I'm sure.
Like they were just like, Spielberg, look what we got.
Dude, we did it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He's probably like, it's okay.
Right.
That's what I was looking for.
Exactly.
That's what I had in my head.
Hey,
I'm glad
you guys did your job adequately.
I'm glad you did the bare minimum and did your job. That's awesome. Thanks. Hey, I'm doing ET right now. I cannot talk. I told you that. Yeah.
This fucking alien kid will not listen to my direction.
I'm glad you did your shit. Now move on. All right. Yeah. Unreal.
Would you put
That's
this?
how jaded we are already from doing this project, right? Yeah. We just assume they're all like that.
Yeah,
he's just busy. I mean, he said in the interview, he sort of alludes to that. Like people after the filming's over, people ask him why he can't be as nice as he is then, and he's just like, I'm busy, I'm focused, I'm just getting things done. Mm-hmm. It seems like that's how
on to the next
and
thing.
It makes sense. I mean, God, when you are doing all that stuff, it doesn't sound like he's a jerk necessarily, but he's just busy.
It's his job.
Yeah,
right? He's doing his job.
Considering how famous he is, he's very nice.
Yeah.
Right? Like he could be a huge asshole.
Yeah. I mean, I think that when people like write, direct, they do the whole thing from start to finish, they got so many emotions, so they wouldn't be able to do all that, right? When you've got like an actor that just shows up and doesn't really care much, but just loves being in front of the camera, like they're not as, they're one-dimensional as opposed to three.
And to do all of that, you have to some extent probably, you don't have to, I guess, because Kubrick was maybe different. Generally, you'd think you'd have to be pretty nice. You have to get along. If you're going to run across, wear that many hats and work with that many people.
You get along with some people.
You're going to have to be some kind of nice.
Right.
Hitchcock, no. Kubrick, no. Depends on your sweat.
But that was that old
like
school,
Hitchcock,
real,
right? But
director.
I don't know if they were...
tyranny.
Both Kubrick and Hitchcock were very much like that kind of thing, too, where they meddled in everything, right? So
yeah.
But they
were
like they were nice.
They were out of a different group where they didn't treat where people didn't treat.
Maybe they were in a setting where people were more like there was much more of a hierarchy,
right?
Much more.
You just do what you're told. I think back in the 80s and 90s they were doing they were having a lot more fun on set than they were in the 60s, 50s, even 70s probably.
Yeah, there's not a director that's around right now that's had a run like Spielberg, Hitchcock, or Kubrick yet. I don't think.
Yeah.
There's no equivalent.
Or Denny, our friend Denny. But even, that's not the same kind of commercial success or, like blockbuster success.
Yeah, those are, you're right.
I
That's
guess
a
Christopher
good point.
Nolan, if you're talking about that.
There you
lately,
go.
But when he was
or
at his
what's
height
his name
of his
that blows
powers.
everything up? Michael Bay. He's had those blockbuster runs.
No one respects those movies, though. Those are different.
Yeah, but that's not, we're trying to talk about respect, Yeah.
Well, I think like the Hitchcock and the Kubrick and Spielberg are all like they're artistically respected and they made money in the box office. So
Nolan is artistically respected for some reason. So
there's a good reason. He's good at directing special effects, John. You cannot argue with that.
I know.
I hate that fucking.
He is. But I would say he's probably that he's on that tier as far as the amount of money his films are making and the kind of budgets he has and that he continues. I mean, Tenet was
what's his name?
Flop,
Ridley Scott, right?
Yeah,
Ridley. He's apparently
just made a lot
on
of
off,
movies
nice to people. Tarantino's on off, nice to people.
Yeah.
Hey, they've got a job to do, and people.
He put Uma Thurman at risk in Kill Bill.
Oh yeah.
So there's that.
Right.
What are we talking about? All right, guys. Are you
I
ready?
don't fucking know.
We're halfway.
Top 10?
We're
Top
10. Top 250. Absolutely.
Top 10. Definitely
top 10.
Not. Top
Yes.
250.
One of the best movies of
Top
1982.
I put this in the top 250.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
I would too. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Woohoo.
What are we doing next?
We're doing a Joel Schumacher film. Can you believe it? We're watching Batman and Robin. That's a great movie.
All right,
Happy
let's
Halloween. You guys love that one? There's a bat card in it. He has a credit card with a bat on
the
it.
bat suits.
Yeah.
It was a conscious choice.
It's got Alicia Silverstone. She doesn't have nipples though, because that would be not good.
Right, that's weird. But the boys can have them, but the girls can't.
That's right. It's sexist.
No idea
That's
what you guys are
sexism.
talking about.
90s sexism right there. So Joel Schumacher actually did direct this one. This movie's called The Lost Boys. It was made in 1987.
Oh,
That's right.
It's got
The Lost Boys.
one of the best 1980s casts I think there is.
That's fair.
I better write that
Corey
down.
Haim, Corey Feldman,
Kiefer
Sutherland.
Oh my God, I remember this one.
Oh yeah. Alex Winter is in it. Freaking Ted. Is it Ted or Bill? Which one is he? The
I don't
non-Keanu
know.
dude.
Oh, is
Of
that?
Bill and Ted. That's Alex Winter. He's in it too.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
you guys ready for this?
Oh yeah, I'm
staying in the
excited.
80s.
Nikki me actually watched this one with me.
Yeah, Naomi's gonna watch it too. There's too many cool hairstyles and cool jackets to not watch it, you know.
Right.
All right, so let's watch that one.
All right.
Sounds good.
Yeah.